Before we started today's video, I wanted to show you guys a quick clip so you can kind of understand what I've been up to this past weekend.
So last night I got to attend the Dune Part 2 premiere in Abu Dhabi at Galeria's Vox Cinemas, my favorite cinema in the whole world. The way they transformed the entire area into a red carpet was crazy, and so many legendary things happened. I got to meet the legendary Dave Bautista, who plays Drax in Guardians. Check it out.
Thank you so much for coming, man. Would you come back to Marvel?
Oh, for sure.
For sure? Let's do it. Before we started the review, I wanted to say a huge thank you to Vox Cinemas Middle East and Warner Brothers Middle East for inviting me to the regional premiere of Dune Part 2. They made a whole big deal out of it because they filmed most of this movie in my city, Abu Dhabi, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Hello beautiful people, how's it going? I'm back with another video, and I'm here to talk to you guys about Dune Part 2. This video should be released when the embargo lifts as soon as possible. I'm really excited to talk about this. Now, before we started, I wanted to say I was not a fan of Dune Part 1. I went to see it in IMAX exactly the way it was intended to be seen, and I felt it was too slow, and it was constantly building towards something, and then it just cut off. Walking into Dune Part 2, I had expectations to see a lot of things that were built in the film. Now, I really don't want to talk about spoilers because my favorite part about this movie is the surprises. But what I can say to you guys, and what I want to say to you guys, is that Dune might be the greatest sci-fi film I've ever seen. I cannot understand how a movie like this was made while dealing with such intense topics such as politics and religion. It feels like a blockbuster movie that's also an art house film, and Denis Villeneuve as a director is absolutely phenomenal with his work here. I actually think this might be my favorite work by him, and that's what I wanted to speak about first. The directing in this film is so magnificent because everything feels real, and every scene and every shot feels pivotal, as if there is a specific purpose for every single frame in the film. That is just all based on Denis Villeneuve's talent, and I have high praise for him, especially after seeing this film. I wasn't the biggest fan. I loved Blade Runner 2049, I reacted to it, and I loved Arrival, but Dune Part 1 was kind of a letdown for me. But my god, was this film an upgrade. If you guys know me, you also know that I am not the biggest fan of Timothée Chalamet, and Wonka was the movie that made me believe that he is a phenomenal actor. And now Wonka can just be, you know, slammed out of the door because Dune Part 2 comes in and it is the best performance I've seen by any actor in years. And the reason why is actually kind of a spoiler, and so I don't really want to discuss that in very much detail, but let's just say Timothée Chalamet gives me a very surprising performance in this role, playing this character of Paul Atreides, this person who people prophesize is going to be the savior. It's really wonderful seeing what he does with it. Frank Herbert, the writer of the book, the way that storyline progresses is so surprising to me, which is another aspect that I loved about the film, is that there's so many twists and turns and so many things that surprise you and genuinely shocked me and a bunch of other audience members at the premiere that I was with. Timothy's performance creeps up on you. It's not something that you anticipate. His reactions to certain things in certain moments, or his kind of reference to things in certain moments, it's really what elevates his performance into all-time category, which again is everything that this film has to offer. Every single aspect is an all-time category. I have not hidden that the reason I went to see the first film was for Zendaya, so of course you guys know how happy I must have been to see a lot of Zendaya in this film. And I hate to say it because I love Zendaya in Euphoria. I think this might be my favorite performance by her, because the character of Tani, who you guys know from the first film is, you know, involved with Timothy's Paul, she has so much development in this film where you kind of see her perspective, you see other people's perspectives, and while you may not agree with either camp, you understand both parties, and she really breaks your heart in this film. She really does, and she really gives it her all. And I just think it's just wonderful, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the story has in store for us, because I am not going to read the books. I want to experience Dune Part 3 or Dune Messiah, or whatever it's called, the way I experienced Dune Part 2, knowing nothing and being blissfully surprised. I know this next part sounds like spotting a fork in a kitchen, but the sound design in this film is unbelievable. I watched it in an IMAX theater and it was so loud. I can't describe how real everything sounded, not to mention the music and the you know the music, but it's utilized so well here. And I feel that Denis Villeneuve saves that theme for very specific, intense moments, and I think it worked very, very well. Other standouts include Florence Pugh, who we all know is a living legend. I'm never going to say anything bad about Florence Pugh, other than her role in Oppenheimer. Sorry, I don't agree with it. There are a lot of surprises in this film, so if you can see this movie as soon as it comes out, I really implore you to, especially if you haven't read the books, because my favorite aspect of this film was feeling that the first one was so slow, and walking into this, and it's just non-stop action, surprise, twist, emotional moment, action, surprise, plot twist, emotional moment. It kind of felt like a space soap opera, which kind of reminded me of Star Wars, and I actually got into a conversation with a friend of mine who's a really big Star Wars and Dune fan after the film, and he told me that Dune was written before Star Wars was even made. So it's actually Star Wars that was inspired by Dune, and you can really see that here. There are elements and tropes and themes in this film that I genuinely felt, oh, okay, well that's this in this episode of Star Wars. And turns out Dune was the originator. And I will say there is a trope that they do here that is very similar to Star Wars. I won't say which Star Wars film, but they do it way better here, which is exactly why I loved it. It's exactly why I loved all of the performances and the plot developments in this film. It was just unbelievable. I was not a Dune fan. I was not a Dune supporter when I saw this. The only reason that I wanted to support this film was because they filmed most of it in my city. And I'll support anything Abu Dhabi does for the rest of my life, inshallah. To go into it and to actually witness a moment in pop culture history, that's what I would say Dune Part 2 is. A moment. It's kind of like how I felt when I went to see Avengers Endgame, which is the highest praise that I could give any film. Not because of the filmmaking. I mean, Dune Part 2, it's perfect. It's a damn near perfect movie. Actually, no, it is a perfect movie. I can't think of a flaw. But that feeling that I collectively felt with everybody I was in the theater with opening night of Avengers Endgame is how I felt watching Dune Part 2. It felt like everything was leading up to this. And of course, the first film had all of that basis. And now you may think I'm speaking very vaguely, but that's because I am going to do, inshallah, a full spoiler review, because I am itching to discuss the events that took place during this film. I'm itching. I genuinely cannot wait to get into discussions and talk to you guys and hear in the comments below, maybe from book readers, maybe from, people who have been lifelong fans of Dune. Seeing this unfold was so shocking to me. And I loved every second of it. I almost forgot to mention Austin Butler, Elvis. Oh my goodness, he is terrifying in this movie. The reason I'm telling you he's terrifying is because in the trailer, he does look like a villain, so I can say he is a villain. It's very harrowing seeing him be this absolute menace to society, and he is terrifying. I didn't think Austin Butler was going to do a great job in this role. Just from kind of some of the stuff I saw in the trailers, he looked kind of goofy, and all of his scenes were in black and white, which is, again, Denis Villeneuve's excellent directing and excellent cinematography. But Austin Butler is absolutely phenomenal in this role. I was genuinely terrified of him every time he came on screen. And just that matched with every single thing in relation to the lore and the plot and just the story just makes for a perfect movie. If I had to rate this film, Dune Part 2 is a 10 out of 10. I'm not even joking. I can't find a single flaw in the film. Timothy's perfect, Zendaya's perfect, Florence Pugh is perfect, Austin Butler is perfect, Denis Villeneuve gives it everything. They filmed in Abu Dhabi. The score is perfect. The sound design is perfect. The visual effects, everything feels so real, and I can't stop gushing about this film. It's also a film that I genuinely cannot stop thinking about. I watched it 3 days ago, and it is still on loop in my brain, which is exactly what I want from a film. Let me get obsessed. Let me pre-order the Funko Pops. Let me want to transform my bedroom. Let me want to get a Dune poster to put on my wall. That is what I want from a film. And this movie gave it to me. I highly doubt that we're going to get something better this year. I'm just being honest. I don't even know. And now I'm worried for the rest of 2024. It was that good. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. Please go watch Dune Part 2. I really need the third in this film series. I need the third. I need it in my veins. I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys next time.